All right, welcome everyone. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had an amazing weekend. This is our Quai Developer AMA, Developer Q&A. This is a space we host every Monday for all of you building on Quai Network to come and join the team in a conversation, ask your questions, get answers, and charge forward together to build a future where we can separate money from the state. That's what we're about here at Quai Network. Bear with us one moment while we get everybody up on stage here. We are simulcasting to you from Discord. So if you want to join the chat, I highly encourage you to do so. Looks like a bunch of people are filtering in as I speak. Check that pinned tweet up above. If you're hanging out with us on X, there's a link to the Discord event. Hope to see you there. We'll be prioritizing questions coming through on our Discord community. But if you can't make it into Discord, feel free to drop a question down in the comments section over on X, and I'll reserve some time in the back half of the call to address those. So come on, guys, smash that like button. Let's retweet the space out. Bring the rest of Quai Nation in here. We got a pretty packed week coming up for you guys this week and onward into February. The team was discussing a lot of upcoming announcements. Maybe we'll get some alpha today, but if you have any questions about building on Quai Network, feel free to ask them over in the chat on Discord. And again, if you can't make it, feel free to drop it in the comments section over on X. So with that, again, smash that like button. Let's retweet the space, guys. Bring more people in here. Definitely want to answer all your questions. I see a ton floating throughout the community, so feel free to drop those over on X if you can't join us on Discord. And we'll get started here shortly. Quick mic check for those of you hanging out on Discord. Can you guys hear me all right? Let me know. Nice. Appreciate that. Looks like we got Jonathan up on stage here. Howdy, Jonathan. Can you hear us all right?
Hey, good morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll. Man, still ice all over the place down here in Austin, Texas. How was your weekend, Ben? Anything you want to touch on before we get started?
Well, we have the normal kind of ice, not the government kind of ice, if you're wondering.
Sorry.
But they have both kinds up in the north, and especially in Minnesota, they got a lot of both kinds.
Oh man, yeah, man. The whole U.S. actually, it seems was hit by a storm over the weekend. But yeah, like my whole driveway is a freaking ice rink right now. Dogs are cutting themselves on the ice, on the grass. It's kind of a mess. But the sun's out today. It's shining. I already see it starting to melt. So we'll get back after here real soon.
Hopefully, it starts melting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? I know you guys released an upgrade to Go Quai over the weekend. You want to touch on that briefly before we dive in?
Yeah, sure. So, we noticed kind of after the Bitcoin halving, we noticed kind of a strong decoupling between the revenue generated from Ravencoin and from Bitcoin Cash and Dogecoin. So we just made some, slight adjustments, actually very minor adjustments to the consensus mechanism or the controller that governs the SOAP protocol. And that controller kind of determines, how much Quai is allocated to each algorithm, how sensitive is it to change in the difficulty of each algorithm, stuff like that. So we made some very slight minor adjustments, but those adjustments should make the kind of the gap between the three algorithms, between Ravencoin and between Dogecoin and Bitcoin Cash, a little closer. And so that means that we'll hopefully be seeing similar revenue per hash numbers, or revenue per I guess per hash is not the best explanation, because each algorithm has a different hash rate. But I like to think of things as in units of energy. That's just how my brain works. Like when I'm thinking about how these algorithms kind of operate, they all require some use of energy, and you get Quai based on your units of energy input. So basically what we're trying to do is bring them all to the same Quai per energy unit input, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I think about it, and it makes the most sense to me. But hopefully there's some questions about it that we can, delve into it a little bit more. But we basically just made the minor adjustments to the controller to make the revenues make a little bit more sense per unit of energy input.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I got a phone call from Dr. K over the weekend. He expects this to actually increase revenue. I think he said 25 to 30% for the same price level. So that's super cool.
Yeah, that's probably true. Again, it depends on what the miners do.
Right.
But yeah, that's likely true because we're basically getting them closer to parity with what they should be paid. So if you're an ASIC miner, I don't think you need to worry at all. Like you're probably gonna get the same amount of Quai. But if you're a GPU miner, if the GPU hash rate remains the same, you might be paid less. That's all. But that's just because right now the Ravencoin halved, and it means that we're getting half as much in revenue. So we're not going to pay you half, right? We're just going to we have to make it more reasonable, right? It's just unreasonable right now that there's such a massive gap between revenue we generate from Ravencoin and the revenue, kind of the rewards we give out to those miners. So we just had to make it a little bit more reasonable, but it still will be probably still the most profitable coin mine for quite a while for GPUs. And people have requested that we go to like other coins like Xana or something, but you really have to think of what are the total daily emissions of those coins, right? Like we can't just move to Xano and hope that that the daily emissions of Xano like full cover of the SOAP protocol costs. Like it just doesn't work that way. You need a coin that has enough revenue to SOAP from, right? You have to have those emissions out every day to SOAP. So Ravencoin actually still is, to my understanding, still is the number one GPU mined coin. So in terms of daily emissions. So
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, really appreciate you starting there and addressing those points. I know that node upgrade went out over the weekend. So if you're hearing it here first, guys, check the announcements. If you're running a node, you will definitely want to upgrade. There's a new release, version 0.50. Go get it, folks. Nice. Appreciate that, Jonathan. Okay, we got a ton of questions already in the chat. Many appreciations to Kishore and the rest of the community here for collecting these questions. The first one to start us off is an interesting one. There's some discussion happening in our channels about two addresses that seem like the community currently thinks these are staging addresses, since there's been some transactions from those to the burn address. The question is, they're curious why such a large balance is kept. And there's a bunch of speculation about these addresses. So the very first question in the chat, Jonathan, I don't know if you can address this, but do we know anything about these addresses?
yeah, it's a market maker address. They buy tokens and they burn it for us. But I would ask that to Dr. K on Wednesday. He probably has greater understanding of what's going on there, because actually I'm a developer mostly. I don't really deal with the market makers. But that to my understanding, that's a market maker address.
Got it. Okay, cool. Really glad we could address that. Again, Kishore, appreciations for you for collecting these. Maybe we pencil that one into our tech AMA with Dr. K on Wednesday. Nice. All right. Let's see here. Moving right along. There's a bunch of good questions in here. Anil Sansenwal is looking at stats.quai.network and noticing that it's lagging almost 5 minutes behind the current height. And they were curious how the API is reporting block difficulty, then the node log tail stream for found blocks. Oh, that's an interesting question. I will call out, actually, I'm going to paste a link down below. There's a way you can manipulate the URL to get more accurate information. But any thoughts on that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, there might be a delay. I actually didn't develop this part of the code base. I know that we have, a set of nodes that it connects to, and it tries to average between them. So
Right.
if you scroll all the way down, you'll see that some nodes are at the latest height, and some nodes are not at the latest height because they have to catch up for some reason. Which is an important thing to note, right? Some of the nodes may be out of sync right now, or maybe there's one of them is just, it looks like one of them is like just perpetually like behind. But if you scroll all the way down on the Quai stats, you'll just have to choose the one that's the highest zone height, and that'll give you the best number, I think. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like maybe, that could be improved. Maybe we should show at the top, we should show the highest number instead of like an average, which I'm pretty sure right now it's just an average. Between the nodes that we query. So because there's a node that's like behind, which is something we should look into. Why is that node behind? I don't know. But because there's a node behind, I think the average is just skewed downwards. But if you look at the first one in that list, generally you're going to get the latest height, So, but yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, I also, I pasted a link down below. You can actually, there's no button for 1 minute. You can actually edit that URL there. At the very end, it says from now to 1 minute to now. So it's definitely an average, folks. But if that's how I use Quai Stats to get the latest information. Nice. Now on difficulty these days, I'm actually looking more at the SOAP dashboard since that gives you the hash rate for all three algorithms. So
Yeah, and the difficulty you can get from the RPC if you wanted. I'll paste a link. You can then see what the difficulty is with this URL here. I know it's not super user friendly because it says actually what is used in what to mine and hashrate.no. It's not always what they use. They use other things too, I think, because it's not always up to date. But that's what we told them to use, right? So that's the official RPC for difficulty. And that'll display all three algos. So the one that's on stats is just the compile difficulty, which is, missing the other. It's just missing the other two.
all right, cool beans. Nice, good questions. Yeah, guys, check those links down there in the chat over on Discord. If you're tuning in on X, there's a pinned tweet up above, so you can join us on Discord. And if you can't, feel free to drop your questions in the comments section. We'll get to them shortly. Next one here, Philly V says, I have built a Docker container and I'm running it on Ubuntu. Man, shout out. But they're having an issue. It says unable to allocate Genesis accounts. Error. Failed to open param/genesis_alloc.json. No such file or directory. I'm curious, Jonathan. We've had a lot of requests for an updated Ubuntu, or sorry, an updated Docker repo. Is this expected?
Yeah, I haven't run Docker in a while. But yeah, there's probably something. I mean, you probably need to add the Genesis allocs in there. So it's probably just out of date. So yeah, I should make a PR to update that.
Okay. Yeah, I think we were hoping to get the next release for Stratum-X tied up, and then I was gonna harass you guys about updating the Docker image because that's now. I think we're close to 10 requests for a Docker image. So, rock on, guys.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Docker is probably easier for Windows users because you can just run a virtual machine. So yeah, that's fair. I don't use Docker. I just run it on my computer. So I guess it's just not something we do. We don't really use Docker. But yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Well, it's on the roadmap, folks. It's definitely something the team's going to address shortly. But respect Philly V for giving it a shot. Nice. All right. Let's see here. Parabish says block time of BCH is 10 minutes. How come 2 blocks at the same time appear through SOAP sometimes? Interesting question. I have to double check. We have
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's not guaranteed to be 10 minutes, right? It's just on average 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's like saying like on average the sun sets at 6 p.m. Why did it set at 6:15 today? Well, I mean, sometimes it sets earlier. I guess that's actually not the greatest example because the sun usually sets at the same time. But there's obviously it changed with the seasons and all that. There's a lot of variance in block times. A lot of variance.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's
You'll
just
find out.
a lucky event, right?
Yeah, it was unlikely or lucky or whatever. But basically, you'll sometimes find a BCH block in 1 minute, and then sometimes you'll find it in 1 hour. If you ever look at their block explorer, it's kind of funny. You'll sometimes see like, there's like an hour and there's just no blocks. Like, can you imagine using like a system as money system and it's like one time you send a transaction, it's confirmed in a minute. You're like, wow, this is fast, and then the next time, like it doesn't confirm for like an hour. Like people use this. Like we've actually settled like billions of dollars in like real money in BCH with our blocks, and so people are clearly using it, but like it doesn't like really work, right? Can you imagine waiting an hour just to get your transaction confirmed? Like, and the thing is, like most people require multiple confirmations, right? So you could be waiting like potentially, if you're unlucky, you could be waiting like 4 hours to get your transaction confirmed on BCH. It's like hilarious to me.
Crazy. Yeah. Tongue in cheek here, but definitely not the future of finance on some of these other chains.
I mean, people use it obviously, but it's just like kind of ridiculous to me how sometimes you can be waiting an hour to get a block. That's variance, right? Sometimes 6x, the expectation is what happens. Sometimes it takes a minute, sometimes it takes 10. On average, it's supposed to take 10. There's no guarantee. So,
Got it. Well, keen observation, Paravesh. Yeah, appreciate the info, Jonathan. Moving right along. Oh man, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Apologies. Question from a user in the community: is the team considering doing a reserve from the coins coming from the SOAP protocol? That's an interesting question. Definitely considered staking at one point, but I think right now it's 100% burn. Any other?
yeah, I mean, to like maintain the price, our goal is to buy and burn as many tokens as possible. Perhaps when we get to a much higher price point, we can consider making a reserve. But right now, our goal is to use all revenue to buy back and burn tokens. And we're actually, like Dr. K told you, we're going to increase the revenue as well, hopefully this week with the upgrade. So, but we're still maintaining that policy of just buying everything and burning it. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be our main objective for the near future. So until we say otherwise.
Fair. Appreciate that. Achilles321 is asking, for the next tech AMA, dev AMA, could we ask about how the system handles nodes that change IP addresses? Are there mechanisms for this to be handled well? And then he has an example down below. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think changing IP address is going to affect you that much.
That's really an issue for.
Yeah, so we have a PR at static peers. So basically, what you might want in this case is a static peer, because what will happen is the peer will try to communicate a new block to you, and your IP address has changed, so you won't receive it. So what you need is a static peer, which is like a peer that you're always connected to, and we have a PR for that. I think it should still work as it stands, because you will have peers that you can query. But I mean, I guess it depends on how often the IP address changes, right? So if the IP address is changing like every minute, that's a problem for sure, because that means that every minute you're going to miss out on new blocks until your node reconnects with peers and starts asking them for new blocks, because your node is not going to constantly pull peers for new blocks. It's going to expect them to send them to you, and you're going to every once in a while you're going to pull. So it depends on the frequency of the IP address changing. If it's just like, I don't know, once a week or something, that's fine. It's not going to affect anything.
Okay, good to know. Do we know by chance how often that polling is?
I don't right now. I have to look into the code base. But I will say once a week is fine. Once a day is probably also fine. But when that IP address changes, you can expect to be out of sync for a few minutes.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Rock on. And again, sounds like there's a PR coming in, so nodes can add static peers, which will help in these
Yeah,
situations.
there already is a PR. I mean, I made the PR. It just needs to get merged into the main branch. But if you really need to use this because your IP address changes very frequently, then you can ask me how to do it. It's not difficult. You need to like cherry pick a commit basically. And actually, I probably need to rebase the branch so that it's on top of the latest changes. I don't need to do that. But basically, yeah, it just allows you to connect to a peer, which I can give you one, like the IP address of like my node or somebody else's node that just is always online. We have a bunch of them, ourselves that are always online that you can just set it and, set those as static peers.
Got it. Okay, this next one is interesting. DTax is asking, can you confirm coin rewards in calculator what to mine or Stratum X as per stable hash rate?
I think they're both good. I would use both. In my opinion, the Stratum X calculator is more up to date. The What's Mine calculator might be slightly out of date. The hashrate.io calculator is more out of date. I think they just updated different intervals. And so the update frequency for What's Mine is probably greater than hashrate.io, and then the update interval for Stratum X is like immediate, basically like it just immediately grabs the latest price and difficulty and stuff like that to give you an accurate estimation. But again, difficulty is always changing. The rewards are always changing as a result. So it's hard to predict the future. Your future earnings are hard to predict, but the calculator gives you the Stratum X calculator gives you the most updated information for what you'd receive like right now.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Now I understand that question. It makes perfect sense. Okay. Rock on. Okay, so now some community questions, again, that you keep short about this latest Quai update. First one here. If SHA and script capacity increases, Kapow's share count can change even if the cutoff values stay the same. Is that the right way to think about it?
Yes, that's correct. So basically when you add more capacity per SHA and script, what it does is it kind of makes the Kapow difficulty go up as well, because you can only stuff so many shares into a block. So the controller kind of says, well, now that these are, now there's more capacity for these two algorithms, like we're basically going to make the other algorithm a little bit more difficult. So the difficulty would rise. That's really the only outcome, is actually just the difficulty for Sean script goes down a little bit and the difficulty for Kapow increases a little bit. That's the only real outcome. And then what you'd see as a result of that is just more SHA and script hash rate. Because more hash rate can come online for the same reward, because the difficulty goes down a little bit for SHA and script. So you just see more SHA and script hash rate come online. And because, Bitcoin Cash hasn't gone through a halving or anything, like you'd see greater revenue as a result.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Guys, if you have any follow-ups, feel free to drop them in the chat down below. Again, we're simulcasting from Discord, so check the pin tweet up above if you want to join in, or drop your question in the comments section over on X. Another question on this topic, Jonathan. Since the dollar amount to Kapow scales regardless of share count, does that imply fewer shares just mean higher value per share?
No, that's not the case. I don't think there's any change to the value per share, not to my knowledge. Now, you may want to ask that question to Dr. K, because I'm not entirely certain if the value per share will change or not. I don't think it will. As I understand it, the change is simply the difficulty of the share for each algorithm. And as I described, the difficulty will change. I don't think the value per share will change, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around the assumption here. I think it might come from the understanding that emissions are logarithmic. So up until a certain point, as difficulty increases, emissions increase as well. But yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, as the difficulty goes up for Cabal, you could say that the emissions would increase. That's actually that's fair. It could, yeah. I mean, because the difficulty is going up, you could say that the emissions would increase. Yeah, I would say that's probably a fair assumption. Now we would get less shares for Kapow, right? So, like, let's say there were 5 Quai per share, just as an example, and there were 5 shares per block for Kapow, or there were 3. 5 Quai per share, 3 shares per block for Kapow. Now, let's say there's 2 shares per block for Kapow, right? If the amount of Quai per share increases, then Kapow would get the same amount. But if the Quai per share increases a little bit less, then the total Quai allocated to Kapow would go down. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not entirely sure, but I do understand like that if the difficulty goes up, you should see more Quai per share. That does make sense to me.
Okay. Yeah. I don't. Again, I'm not completely understanding of the nuance there. But great question, guys. I understand where it's coming from. Definitely one we'll want to pencil for Dr. K on Wednesday. Rock on. Okay. Number 3 here. When SHA and Script are producing enough hash to fill their assigned capacity, Kapow no longer receives shares and can only earn rewards by winning full blocks. Shares return only if SHA and Script fall below Equilishare. Is that the correct interpretation? So in a situation where SHA and Script get all the shares, I guess.
That could happen. Yeah, I mean, I could see a scenario where that happens. Yeah. Again, it depends on the miner behavior. Okay, so if the Kapow hash rate maintains itself because it's still more profitable than Ravencoin, right? So let's say like realistically they are rational miners, those Kapow GPU miners, they're rational. They see that it's more profitable to mine Quai than Kapow, and they don't stop mining. Then you would still see Kapow shares for sure. Now, if the miners are irrational and they say, well, we don't want to mine it anymore, then yeah, it would just go back to blocks. So it depends on the rationality, I suppose. We still will be more profitable than Ravencoin, guaranteed. I'm not sure about like comparisons to like the other ones like Xano or Zealous or whatever. That remains to be seen. I'm actually not entirely sure if we'd be more profitable than them or equally or something, but we'd be around the same, is my understanding. We'd be around the same profitability. So, if they switch, then the share rate for Kapow would go down just because, there's less hash rate. But yeah, I think if miners are rational and because it's more profitable than Ravencoin to mine, we have like the same capacity, right, for hash rate because we have the same amount of emissions as Ravencoin, or actually more, then yeah, we would see the same share rate for Kapow, I think. But you would see more shares for Sean Script, to be clear. And in both cases, regardless of what happens, you will see more shares in Sean Script than in Kapow, but you would still see like around the same amount of shares in Kapow. If the hash rate remained the same, if it went down, then you would go to at minimum block production without shares. Hopefully that made sense.
Yeah. So effectively, guys, there's a controller in the SOAP system that's adjusting the shares per algorithm. And it does it based on, capacity and, miner, how the miner economics play out, whether or not they're rational or irrational, and, what's most profitable for Quai. But right now, Kapow is the only algorithm allowed to produce blocks. So at the, I guess, worst case scenario, Kapow is only producing blocks and not receiving any shares. Did I get that right, Jonathan?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Hopefully that helped for those of you who are missing some context. These are all great questions. And the next one here is also pertinent to the latest upgrade. They're asking, is inclusion depth expected to stay fixed now, or is it something that may be adjusted again as the network grows? So correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but I believe this latest upgrade actually increased inclusion depth from 3 blocks to 4 blocks. That is the number of blocks that a work share can be included in up to a certain point.
Yes, we increased it. And the reason we increased it is because some ASICs are just slow. Because Bitcoin has a 10-minute average block time, an ASIC is just not designed, a Bitcoin ASIC that is, it's just not designed to be updated every 5 seconds, which is our block time, right? So if you have a Bitcoin ASIC right now, you're connected to a pool, they're going to tell you every time there's a new block, right? They'd have to. I mean, every time there's a new block, you have to mine on it, right? Like that, yeah. That's reasonable. The problem is there's some of these older ASICs people are using, like the Avalon 1246, which I actually purchased myself to test with, that for some reason doesn't like you updating it every 10 seconds or every 5 seconds or whatever it is. I think it's 10 seconds it's usually okay with. But anyways, the reason is that we increase this window is so that ASICs with just slower update times, like that they just can't handle faster updates, will still be able to mine profitably because they can they only need to be updated like every other block or something like that because they can be included in the next 4. So like if you mine a work share on block 1, you can be included and paid in block 2, 3, 4, and even 5 now. But previously 5 was excluded from that. It would be 2, 3, and 4. So now you have just like an extra time, an extra block that you can be included in. So, you know, you might be able to mine more profitably than you would previously because you don't have to be updated as often. It still baffles me, by the way, why you can't create electronics that can be updated every like 5 seconds. I mean, 5 seconds is a long time. If you think about what a CPU does in 5 seconds, even the old ones, even like, you know, ones from like 2010, the number of operations per second you can do on a 2010 CPU in 5 seconds is massive. It's massive. I mean, it's like you can't even imagine how many number of crunching you can do in 5 seconds. So it doesn't make sense to me, but it does appear that ASICs meant for Bitcoin that are older than 2021, I think, the ones in 2020 and 2019, basically they just aren't really designed for faster updates than like once every minute or something like that. I don't know why. But well, anyways, we improved it, so now you can update them a little bit slower. And Doge, I think Doge is mostly fine because Dogecoin is 1 minute block time, so ASICs designed for Doge already accept you know, faster updates. But in either case, right, if you have an ASIC that's slow for whatever reason, like you should be able to mine better. The mining pools will need to adjust their update frequency, their update algorithm, and StratoMax is also going to be updated for that as well. We're still doing a lot of testing on different ASIC devices that we purchased, mostly older ones, because the newer ones have no problems, basically. So the older ones we're just still testing on, but it does seem like, you know, we needed to expand that window so that, you know, an ASIC doesn't have to mine every single block. They can kind of skip blocks and still get paid. So yeah, I mean, that's basically the rationale there.
Got it. More of a hardware integration thing that we adjusted there. I mean, it is really weird though. Is it actually the hardware or is it the software running on those ASICs that doesn't allow for that quick of an update?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I don't know the answer because the hardware or the software is closed source. That means I can't look at the code. So I don't know. It's a good question.
Interesting. Well, I could speculate on that one all day. Interesting. Okay. Appreciate those questions. Kishore, thanks for collecting those from the community. I'm reading through the chat here. You guys are absolutely on fire. Warlock +1 for Quai Node Docker image. It's coming. Stand by. Hang on to your hats for that one. Web3 Counselor is asking about information on how to actually build on Quai Network. Web3 Counselor, we got a lot of resources available for you over in our docs page. So I'm going to link a few documents down below here in a minute. But welcome to the community. Glad to have you. It sounds like they're building an education platform. So shout out Web3 Counselor. We'll get you hooked up with some resources momentarily. Again, welcome to the community.
You can ask our QU AI bot for help if you need it.
Oh,
it's pretty well versed on our documentation.
Absolutely. Yep, I second that. Guys, the community is going ham on that, so never hesitate to leverage that bot. Okay, Nintron here has a question. Is there documentation on the WebSocket protocol for the RPC? I dug some docs, he dug some on docs.qo. Docs, oh my gosh, I can't talk. He's not sure if it's a skill issue or he's just not finding it, or is the SDK more documented and recommended way to interact with the RPC right now?
Yeah, the SDK uses the WebSocket. So if you're trying to use the WebSocket, you probably want to use the Quai's SDK. It uses the WebSocket provider. I'm not sure what you're trying to do. If I knew what you were trying to do, I could help you a little bit better. But I mean, the WebSocket protocol is like the standard WebSocket. You subscribe to whatever subscription you're trying to subscribe to. Now, I'm not sure if we actually have all the subscriptions listed, so perhaps we need to like increase the list or document all of those subscriptions so you can like subscribe to new headers. You can subscribe to get block template. You can subscribe to an account, so when an account gets a balance, you can get a ping. Those are the main three. Now, there probably are some more. There might be a get logs, like a EVM logs subscription. But I suppose, yeah, we might need to document that better. I don't know, Matt, do you think we have what WebSocket subscriptions are available in the documentation?
No, not explicitly as WebSockets. And we have the API playground in build. And I've always just used Quais to interact with it.
Yeah, it's usually recommended to use Quais for the subscription just because it's easier. But if you're programming in a different language like Go, we also have a client. It's called Quai Client. It's in Go Quai actually, and that's something you can as well use in Golang if you're trying to build some kind of service. But in JavaScript, I recommend using the Quai's SDK.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we have that API playground, but I suspect you should be able to ask the QU AI bot if there's a specific subscription you're looking for, right?
Yeah, the QA bot for sure knows. I mean, it knows everything in the docs. So if it's in the docs, it knows about it.
Okay, rock on. Yeah, Nintron, feel free to follow up if there's something specific you're looking for. It sounds like there's an example implementation in Go and the Go Quai client, and then if you're in JavaScript, if it's missing from Quais, let us know for sure. Absolutely.
Another thing I will say is if you have Claude Code, I mean, everything is so much easier. You don't even need Opus. You can use the old one like Sonnet or whatever. Just be like, hey, Claude, just can you look at this Go Quai code base and tell me all of the WebSocket subscriptions? And it will do it, and it will take like 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually incredible what you could do with that $20 a month subscription. It's like $20 a month, and you can learn anything you want about anything on a computer. I mean, obviously, if it's like in chemistry or something, it's probably not good at it. But if it's like code on a computer, you can just like open it and be like, hey, can you like tell me about this? And it'll look in the code base and tell you about it, which is like actually incredible. It's a really cool tool.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I second that. I've used it to look at Pelagus and Quais and all of the above. So it's a great way to learn, guys. Rock on. Okay. Check Raise is asking a question about what algo is going to be the most profitable of mine over the next 2 to 3 years. If random X is going to be included there, he wants to consider that one as well. And the relationship of reward pools to different algos. They're looking at building out. Actually, I know Check Raise is considering standing up a whole corporation and focusing on mining. So shout out Check Raise. But yeah, any thoughts on what algo is going to be most profitable long term?
Yeah, it's probably script, but it could be SHA. And the reason I'm saying these ASIC algos is just because the SOAP protocol incentivizes us to focus on coins with a lot of revenue, so we can SOAP, right? That we can kind of like get revenue from. And the GPU coins just don't have a lot available. So like right now, obviously we reward GPUs a lot, but in the future, we're going to saturate Ravencoin. I mean, we almost already have, but we're going to saturate Ravencoin, and then, we're going to probably have to give more rewards out to Dogecoin and Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin or whatever it is, just because there's more capacity there, right? We can't give out more rewards to a coin that doesn't have capacity. it just won't work. Like the protocol itself requires us to move towards, larger capacity emissions, like coins with larger emissions per day. And that's what I mean by capacity, by the way. I mean emissions per day. And so, Dogecoin has something like $1 or $2 million in miner emissions per day. That's capacity. Bitcoin obviously has 50 million. Bitcoin Cash is a few hundred K, I think. And so these coins are going to be the ones that we're going to expand revenue towards, or we're going to expand emissions for. So when it comes to choosing a miner, if you asked me 6 months ago, I wouldn't tell you an ASIC. I'd tell you a GPU, right? That's how things can just change. So it's hard for me to guarantee something. But I would say I'd recommend either a Script or a SHA ASIC. Try to get one of the latest models that you can get your hands on. And either one is probably good. I'm going to say Script for now, just because if you look at our calculator, you'll see that Script, for some reason, is just higher gap. It's just more profitable on Quai right now. I don't know if it'll be more profitable than SHA in the future, but I do know that right now Script is more profitable to mine Quai with. And so that's what I would say. I would say, choose what's more profitable now. Choose what you can get your hands on. And just try to stick with that. It's probably, let me check right now real quick. They look about the same. So actually, yeah, they look about the same. And Script actually profitability changes very, very frequently as well. So, I don't know. Yeah, I would say either Script or SHA. Try to choose something that is the most efficient per hash, and the most reasonable within your price point, and the most obtainable, right? Because depending on where you are geographically, certain ASIC models might not be obtainable. So try to get from Script and SHA. Try to get something that is the most efficient hash per dollar, and then try to get also something that is the latest model if you can.
Yeah. Big question, check raise. Really appreciate you expanding on that, Jonathan. I'll just also add, guys, we have a lot of these conversations pretty much every day, but if you're interested in learning more about mining and how to think about it, especially from a business perspective, make sure you're tuning into the Wolf Bitcoin spaces that we do every Thursday with a lot of miners in the community. It's probably the biggest mining space on X at this point. And I learn something there every day. Also, Alpha Mine's there, Aussie Mine, Hobbyist Miner, and some hosting providers are as well. So, they also sometimes dig into the questions in the comments section. And I know personally Alpha Mine, is, a huge proponent of diversification, and is always willing to help out somebody else who wants to get into mining on Quai. So, feel free to reach out to them. Check raise, I know you got that content. Just sharing for everybody else. Big question. Great question. Nice. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to ask this next one, and then I'm going to go check in over on X and see if there's any questions in the comment section. So, guys, if you're not hanging out with us on Discord, feel free to drop your questions in the comments on X. We shared in the Discord server recently some news about Symbiosis. So GUI here has a question about the Symbiosis integration. He says, how does the integration with Symbiosis work? After approval tomorrow, so they run a DAO and they have a proposal up in their DAO to integrate with Quai. Looks like it might get approved tomorrow. How long do they have to complete the integration? Do you know any additional details there, Jonathan?
Yeah, from what I understand, they're pretty close to the finish line. I don't have a date for you right now, unfortunately, but from what I understand, they're pretty close to finishing.
Nice. Nice. Good question, Gui. Yeah, he also adds here, full EVM compatibility allows straightforward integration into Symbiosis without protocol level adaptations. Check. Based on this information, we would have a quick integration. Sounds like yes. From what we know, they're really close to finishing it actually. So, let's see here. Thorin is asking about DeFi Llama. Any updates on DeFi Llama?
Yeah, I think they are still working on getting us integrated into their dashboard. we were on there, and then we got more revenue than Ethereum for a couple of days, and then they removed us. So I'm not sure exactly when they're going to add us back, but yeah, I mean it's going to happen at some point. I'm not worried about it. But it's something that's in their hands. If you want to bully them about it, I think you should. I think you should go to their Discord right now and tell them to add us on the chains.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really in our hands. But it was very simple to get added, and then it's becoming very difficult to get them to add us back. But we're still in a conversation with them, right? We're still like in communication with them. It's just on their end to add us back.
Heard. Good question, Thorin. GT's asking, he says, they say, I'm mining Quai with HiveOS and SRB miner. Do I need to apply the new update? If so, how is this done through HiveOS? If you're referring to the GoQuai update, the short answer is no. If you're not running a node, you're just mining to a pool using HiveOS and SRB miner, be it Cryptex or AlphaMine or StratumX. They are running the nodes and they will update their nodes. They should have already updated at this point. So if you're not running a node, you don't need an update. But if you are running a node, you will need to update. Hopefully that answers.
That's right.
Nice. Hopefully that answers that question. Let's see here. Nintron is asking, related to block inclusion depth, in the long term, from Quai Network's perspective, is there a benefit to longer or shorter inclusion depth? And if there is, would incentives make sense here so ASICs that update faster are slightly more profitable? Ooh, that's interesting.
It's a good question. The answer is yes. ASICs that update faster are more profitable on Quai and will always be more profitable. But ASICs that are slower should still be rewarded and still profitable to some degree. But there's a couple of problems with the older ones, right? Number one is that the older ones are less efficient, meaning they get less hash per joule, and that means that they're just more expensive to run. And the second problem is that they don't update as frequently, meaning they sometimes will not get included in the window, right? So we're extending our window from 3 to 4 blocks. That means that you have more time to get included. That means that your old-ass, slow-ass ASIC will still maintain, the ability to get rewarded by, being updated a little less frequently than it is right now. So it'll still operate hopefully at full hash at, a 10-second update frequency or whatever the pool decides to set you at. But you still will miss out sometimes. When you find a work share, you still will miss out sometimes. And, if you're mining to a pool, I'm not sure exactly how the pool will manage it. The pool might just reject your share sometimes if it's too slow, or, it might just reward you perhaps a little bit less if you're running an older ASIC. Stratum X will not do that. If you're mining on Stratum X with an older ASIC, you will submit all work shares that you find, but some of them might not be included. And that's just because your ASIC didn't update fast enough, basically. And by fast enough, I don't mean every second. I mean once every 10 seconds, your ASIC needs to update. That's it. If your ASIC updates once every 10 seconds and is able to, maintain the latest update or mine on the latest update, that's pretty much as fast as it has to be. But some ASICs are not even able to do that. I don't know why. But that's kind of the profitability answer. Now, the first part of your question you asked, is there a benefit to a shorter, longer inclusion depth? There is certainly a benefit to finality. So when we have work shares that point to a block that is closer to the tip, we get more finality on that block. So ASICs are kind of now committing to blocks on the Quai chain. And when they commit to a block or they point to a block, they add finality to it, because to reverse that block, you now have to go through all those work shares and reverse them, kind of. You have to produce blocks and work shares at the same time with a greater work than what was put on those blocks that were pointed to with, your own chain. So let's say, I send a block to the network and I have, 5 work shares pointing at it. In the next block, what happens is if I want to reverse those blocks, I have to then produce 2 blocks and I have to produce those work shares on top of them. And that makes it difficult, right? That makes it a lot more difficult. Now, if a work share points to a block that's much farther behind, it's just not as useful, because we've already kind of, moved past that point. What we want is for work shares to point to blocks that are very recent at the tip, because those work shares that point to the very recent blocks create finality for those blocks. Creating finality for a block that's a few blocks behind is not as useful. It is much more useful and much more helpful for the network itself, the Quai network, or work shares to point to blocks that are like the latest blocks, basically. When we increase this finality depth or increase this inclusion depth, we are also increasing this finality depth, if that makes sense. So when we increase the inclusion depth, to 4 blocks, I wouldn't say finality is achieved at 4 blocks. That's not exactly true, but it is kind of like that. There is no guaranteed finality in proof of work, but it improves finality up to 4 blocks, basically. And anything after that is very difficult to reverse, if that makes sense. So, while previously we could say, well, we achieved almost perfect finality in 3 blocks. Now we achieve almost perfect finality in 4 blocks. But it depends on the update frequency of the ASIC, right? So most ASICs will be updated in such a way that we'll have 3-block finality. And some ASICs will be updated a little bit slower, so we might achieve, better finality for those ASICs at 4 blocks, if that makes sense. So the more you increase that range, the greater the depth required for finality. And that just means how long do I have to wait before a transaction that I sent for $10,000 is unlikely to be reversed, right? To be clear, it is still very expensive to reverse even a 2-block chain in Quai. Because there are 8 work shares per block, you have to produce those 8 work shares. It's expensive to do that. You need 3 types of hardware. So we get finality very, very quickly in Quai, actually, for most transactions. But for the very largest transactions, we're talking about $100K, $1 million, finality for those types of transactions will take now 4 blocks instead of 3. That's basically the difference.
Wow. Great breakdown. Really appreciate that, Jonathan. Great question, Nintron. They also mentioned that they were working on a SDK for Go. So shout out for Quai Client. They're going to look into that. If we got a link, Jonathan, that might be super helpful. But I'll try to dig one up if I can find it.
I can make a link.
Dope.
I can find it.
Dope. Okay, we got another +1 for Claude from Noah, and a question here. What is the expected decrease in the number of shares for Kapow on Quai post-fork? I know you're digging up the link right now.
I explained it a little bit earlier, but if you didn't catch it, basically the idea is if the hash rate stays the same, the number of shares for Kapow does not change. The expected shares for Sean script will increase, so the net revenue will increase. If the Kapow hash rate decreases, actually that's not entirely true because the difficulty goes up. So I'll rephrase. The number of shares expected for Sean script will increase, regardless of anything. The number of shares for Kapow will decrease slightly because the difficulty will increase for Kapow. If the hash rate stays the same, I think you would see 2 shares per block instead of 3, probably. Now, if the hash rate for Kapow decreases because the difficulty went up, so it's a little bit less profitable to mine it, you would see a greater decrease in the number of hashes or the number of shares for Kapow. Hopefully that makes sense. So I would expect if the hash rate stays the same, probably 2 per block and then 4 per block for Sean script. And if the hash rate goes down for Kapow, I would expect to say, 1 share per block or just block production for Kapow. That's my current expectation.
Got it. Dang. Giant balancing act happening over here with, what the miners decide to do versus, difficulty versus shares versus emissions. It's an interesting thing. A lot to dig into. Hopefully that answers your question, Noah. Feel free to follow up. But we'll move on to the next one here. Snap says they're new to Quai and Snap's on MetaMask, and the send transfer was not working on Snap's Brave browser. So they deleted MetaMask and reinstalled and have a new Quai Snaps balance with 0. Is there any way to recover funds? Uh-oh. Yeah. I'm working with a moderator right now trying to troubleshoot the MetaMask snap. We haven't been able to replicate these issues yet. But Jonathan, any advice for this individual who deleted MetaMask and reinstalled it?
You need the keys. So the Quai keys are derived from your MetaMask keys. So basically, every time you use the same keys, you'll get the same Quai wallet. If you don't have the keys, I mean, your money is unfortunately gone. But if you save those keys, which you should anytime you make a wallet, to be clear, you can create a new MetaMask wallet with those keys. You will then install the snap and you will get your wallet back. Now, in terms of the issue sending transactions, I also couldn't replicate it. I'm not really sure what the cause is. Once I get a replication that I can like perform regularly, I'll be able to fix it. But yeah, right now I'm not exactly sure what it is. Another problem with MetaMask snaps is that to update it takes like weeks because their team is so unresponsive. So if we eventually find an update or we find the fix and we updated it, you still probably have to request MetaMask team to update it because it's once we publish an update, like they have to manually update it themselves. So that's kind of annoying. Sorry about that, but hopefully we'll get down to the bottom of it. But yes, if you do have your MetaMask keys, all you have to do is restore the wallet from those keys, and you should be good to go.
Got it. Okay. They add a little bit of context here. I don't know. I'm going to ask you because this might make sense to you, Jonathan. They say my snaps, I believe, was on my account stored with my ledger, but during the transaction did not engage with the ledger. So can I possibly be stored on the standard MetaMask 12 key phrase?
Yeah, the Quai wallet is not from your ledger. It has nothing to do with your ledger. It does not derive itself from your ledger keys. It only derives itself from the keys in the MetaMask wallet. Whether you have a ledger or not is irrelevant. You need your MetaMask keys.
Got it. Okay. Save your keys, folks. Back them up. Not your keys, not your crypto. This sounds like if you have those, every time you recover your MetaMask wallet, you'll get the same Quai accounts. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Let's see here. Oh, looks like Nintron found. Yep. Okay. Found the Quai client repo. Good work, guys. Looking forward to seeing what you build, Nintron. That'll be super cool. Louis Rivera says, I want to make a new and novel art collection and launch it on Quai. One question. I want to accomplish what I'm trying. They want to accomplish something in a manner akin to ordinals on Bitcoin. The tooling probably isn't there yet. However, how does Quai do art or other assets that aren't Quai at the moment? Basic idea.
Right? That's our NFT marketplace.
Yeah. So ordinals though are actually like posted on chain, the actual like meta for them, right? So he says here the basic idea is .png files as base64 text. Will that work? I'm not.
If you want to put them on chain, you still can. I think the original Ethereum NFT collection, and I forget what it's called, but they are all on chain. They don't exist off chain.
Yeah, the cipher.
The original PFPs. Cypherpunks, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, great question, Louis. You know, the Quaimark is an NFT marketplace, but I think they're looking at mostly like ERC 721 smart contracts.
Punks.
Yeah, that's it. CryptoPunks.
The CryptoPunks are all on chain, so you can kind of copy what they did. All of CryptoPunks are actually on chain in a smart contract. I don't know if they're base 64. I'm not sure what their encoding is. Maybe it is, but it's all on chain on a smart contract. You can do the exact same thing on Quai.
So there you go, guys. Nice. Oh man. Kishore says that guy doesn't have the key. That's a bummer. Save your keys, guys. Save your keys. Okay. Let's.
Yeah, you cannot make a wallet without keys, guys. If you have a wallet, you have keys. You have to save those keys. You absolutely cannot make a wallet and not save keys. I mean, that is. Even MetaMask doesn't let you do it. I'm pretty sure. Don't you have to type in your keys when you make a MetaMask wallet? Like it like makes you do that or something. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, I'm pretty sure to make a MetaMask wallet, it makes you like type in your keys and store them.
Yeah. Save your keys, guys. Save your keys. Okay. I think this might be the last one in chat. So guys, if you have any last minute questions, feel free to drop them. I will also, I didn't see any over on X, but I'll peek one more time. Billy is asking, what's the deterministic way to correlate a paid work share on QuaiScan with a specific worker ID? Oh, can we see work shares on QuaiScan?
You can see Coinbase's. I don't think it displays work shares. You can see Coinbase transactions, which are derived kind of from work shares. When you make a work share, a few blocks later, you can see your Coinbase transaction. But there's no easy way to do it on QuaiScan, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, bummer. Let's see here. Reconnecting to X. All right, we're back.
If you're mining on StratoMax, we display all of your work shares. You can click to see the QuaiScan Coinbase transaction.
There you go. There you go. That's a good workaround. Thanks for that, Jonathan. All right. Checking one last time for any more questions. Man, we had some good ones today. Guys, remember, if you're running a node, make sure you upgrade. Version 0.50 is out. You can go get the details in our announcements, both on X and in our two Discord servers. We have a community server and a developer server. So check the announcements channels for all of that. I don't see any other questions, Jonathan. So really appreciate the time today, everybody. Jonathan, any final thoughts for the community here before we wrap up?
Yeah, just want to say thank you guys for your questions. Thank you for listening in. Hopefully it was informative. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask me in Discord. And yeah, thank you guys.
Rock and roll. Well, I second all of the above. Guys, really appreciate everybody who tuned in. Thank you so much for all the questions. Shout out to all of you who are building super cool things over here at Quai Network. We do these every Monday. If you need more content, we will be back tomorrow on Tuesday for Quai Nation Space. We do tech AMAs with Dr. K every Wednesday. Thursday, we hang out with the Wolf Bitcoin team, talk mining in the afternoon. And then, as always, we have a good Quai Friday planned for you guys this week. So plenty more content coming at you. I will be going live here in a little bit. So if you're trying to get your hands on some Quai, guys, go sign up over at kipper.money. It's a great way to earn some Quai by engaging with the community here on X. If you need even more Quai, you can find us at Mexi, Gate.io, and LBank. Soon, Kraken. That is right around the corner, folks. You can swap your useless tokens for more useful ones over at SwapSpace and Let's Exchange. And be sure you follow the account and stay tuned for more. We got a lot of good updates coming to you guys this week. Again, final reminder, if you run a node, make sure you upgrade. And I will see you guys all in the live stream later today or Quai Nation tomorrow on Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Monday, and we'll see you then. Peace out.
Thanks, guys. See you later.